Of Allegheny County Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Jared, please take roll.
Mr. Betkowski. Mr. Bonarotti.
Here.
Mr. Ambrazia.
Rearranged.
Here.
Ms. Filiaggi.
Here.
Mr. Fatulis.
Here.
Mr. Grisbeck.
Here.
Ms. Hallam.
Here.
Mr. Klein.
Here.
Mr. Macy.
Here.
Ms. Nacarati Chapkus. Mr. Palmieri.
Here.
Mr. Palmacina.
Here.
Ms. Pritzio. Mr. Walton. President Katina.
Here.
At the moment, we have 14 members present.
Thank you. This evening, we have the quarterly address of the Chief Executive. Madam Chief Executive, the floor is yours.
Wasting no time, Council President. We appreciate it. Well, thank you so much, members. This is my first quarterly address of 2025, so it's lovely to be with you. I'd like to welcome our newest County Councilman at Large, Mike Ambrazia. Thank you, and welcome. Thank you for your service. Thank you for joining this esteemed body. So before I dive into what the county has been up to, I do have to begin with an unfortunate somber note of remembrance. So since I last addressed this body, the county lost a very important member of our leadership team at the County Parks Department, Deputy Director Andy Grobe. Andy was only 39 years young, but he had been with the county for 20 years. He loved the parks so much, and he was an incredible joy to work with every day. His sudden passing leaves a big hole in the heart of the Parks Department, and it has been encouraging to see how the members of the Parks Department has really supported each other during this time. So I want to offer our condolences to the park staff, to Andy Grobe's family, and to everyone who is mourning this terrible loss to our county. So let's just take a moment of silence to remember Andy. Thank you. So, also since my last address,
participant is now joining.
Oh, okay, welcome. So since my last address to you all, we also welcome some new leaders here at the county. So Mike Gable has agreed to serve as the interim parks director. Mike brings a long tenure of service to both the county and the city, and we appreciate his expertise and steady hands as the parks enter its next chapter. I'm also delighted to have welcomed Warden Trevor Wingard to the Allegheny County Jail, and we'll be speaking more about updates at the Allegheny County Jail here in just a little bit. So county workforce continues to remain a priority for my administration, and I want to give you an update on the executive order hires that I signed last fall. It continues to work on making sure that the county is an excellent place to work for all our employees. So we recently announced that we reached a deal with CCAC to offer free tuition to county employees. Councilman Palmieri, we appreciate your service on the CCA board and continuing to support that institution, which is in turn supporting our workforce. We've been negotiating with union contracts, and I'm happy that we've come to agreements with several of our unions to offer fair wages and good contracts. I know that in the end that offering these fair wages for necessary positions like nurses at Canes will actually save the county money in the long run and reduce our reliance on very expensive contractors. We also recently launched a jobs portal for federal workers who have been laid off or are looking to make a change. We have 80 resumes submitted already, and the portal is just a few weeks old. And now is a good time to direct your attention to this large QR code that doesn't have any title or anything, but if you scan it, it'll take you to a link tree, and it'll give you links to many things that I will reference throughout my speech this evening. I'm also going to take a moment to plug Take Your Children to Work Day on April 24th. Special events team is busy planning, and there'll be lots of fun activities. And it's also my birthday, so it'll be a great time for everybody. So now I want to dive into some departmental updates, and we're going to start with our bright spot, our parks. So we had a great winter at Boyce Park. We more than doubled our attendance over last year in skiing, tubing, and ski and snowboarding lessons. So the snow worked in our favor at the Parks Department. But now that winter is over and spring is upon us, we are hiring lifeguards and lifeguard managers now. Winefest is also coming back to Heartwood Acres, and tickets go on sale on March 24th, which was yesterday. So grab your ticket to Winefest. Construction is underway at our South Park pickleball court. So we'll be not only improving the courts, but improving the parking and pedestrian paths and adding lights so these courts can be used after dark, which is very exciting. I challenge anyone to a pickleball game anytime soon. And a project that we know is near and dear to President Katina's heart, the Settlers Cabin paved ADA trail that will begin construction in April or May. So we're very excited to see that move forward. And perhaps my most important announcement of the evening, which is adding 2 new public flush restrooms. The people love a flush toilet. So we'll have one at Boyce Park near the very popular climbing wall, and the other in South Park in the Black and Gold playground. So very exciting. Now, I'm also going to ask council to buckle up because we have some public works updates. Our crews once again did a tremendous job keeping our roads and bridges clear of snow and ice this winter. Our 53 drivers worked 29,224 hours. They used 13,311 tons of salt and 900 gallons of calcium to clear 34 inches of snow off 356 miles of roadway. There will be a test at the end. They did so well. We received only 9 snow and ice complaints on our roads this winter season. I mean, I told you to buckle up your seatbelt. And so can we get a round of applause for our DPW drivers? So Public Works is also progressing on the $13.4 million Armstrong Tunnel rehabilitation project. The inbound tunnel has reopened, and we will be excited to reopen the outbound tunnel this summer. And as we discuss these vital investments in infrastructure, I'd like to thank Councilman Grisbeck, not only for your continued leadership at the SPC, but for your work on the Complete Streets legislation with Councilwoman Nicorati Chapkus, which will help drive critical work at the county to ensure that roads are for everyone, whether you walk, bike, drive, or take public transit. So thank you for that. So many, shifting over to emergency services, many efforts within each of our emergency services division to plan, prepare, mitigate, and respond and recover to severe weather threats have been underway. We had a very cold January and February, and when that happens, there are tragic house fires. So I want to thank the fire marshal team for all the work they did this winter. The Allegheny County Department of Emergency Services is in the early phase of updating the county's hazard mitigation plan. And the goal of the hazard mitigation plan is to make communities more resilient and sustainable in the face of disasters. Having a plan in place will help bring federal funding back to local municipalities that need improvements and investment. And I know Chief Brown's goal is to make sure that we have participation from all 130 municipalities. I also need to mention today is special election day to fill the seat of former Rep. Gergley of McKeesport. So I want to thank the election staff for making sure that we can run a smooth special election here for the people in PA District 35. And also, if you voted today, this may be the last time you see the classic I voted sticker with the little American flag, because we got a new new I Voted sticker in town. So I want to thank Councilwoman Hallam for advocating for us to take on this initiative of asking high school artists to submit their best interpretation of what a Yinzerfied I Voted sticker should look like. We had all these submissions from local high school artists, and 13,000 people actually cast their vote, and this is the new sticker that you'll be able to pick up. So I would like to congratulate Molly, who's a 10th grader at Mount Lebanon, for being the artist behind this I Voted an At sticker. So give a round of applause for Molly. So you can get yours by voting in the primary on May 20th. And my election staff said, please make sure you make an announcement that we are still looking for poll workers. We have 4,000 already hired, and we need 3,000 more. So please encourage folks to sign up, because we have elections every year, twice a year. Now moving on to the health department. So my health department has several updates that Dr. Van would like me to pass along to you all. So the Allegheny County Health Department has invested almost $2 million for opioid prevention, treatment, and harm reduction. The team at DOH is monitoring, preparing for bird flu, known as H5N1, and educating the public about it, which means if you see a dead bird, do not touch it and do not pick it up. Just call the PA Game Commission and they will help you handle it. So like bird flu, measles have been in the news a lot, and the health department has been educating people on the importance of measles prevention and getting the vaccine. So far, there are no cases of measles in Allegheny County, and let's hope it stays that way. It's also fish fry season, and the health department is always busy during this time. The county permitted 117 fish fries this year, and I got to go to Oakmont with Councilman Fatulis and meet all of his extended family, and enjoy the workers who were there preparing the fish sandwiches. And finally, in other health department news, we have a very impressive health lab that is opening up in Councilwoman Filiaggi's district. We're very excited. You've all been invited to the ribbon cutting on April 7th. We hope to see you there. It is a game changer for the health department and really will be a regional multi-county asset. And so since I addressed you last, we also did announce a large slate of new Board of Health directors, which is really exciting. That started serving in January. So I want to thank all the new and returning directors, and thank you all for appointing them. They are hard at work. We also seated the Board of Health's inaugural Housing Advisory Committee, and Councilwoman Nicorati Chapkus was elected as chair. So we want to congratulate her. Congratulations, Councilwoman. So as we consider how we leverage boards, authorities, and commissions to drive progress in the lives of all of our residents, I want to thank all of the County Council for your unanimous vote in updating the code related to the Allegheny County Human Relations Commission, or HRC. In particular, I want to thank Councilman Klein for your leadership, along with Councilwoman Hallam, in ensuring the county took this long overdue step forward in our civil rights protection here at the county. Finally, I want to thank Councilwoman Hallam for your legislation to create a transparent and searchable database for boards, authorities, and commissions. I'm proud to say that database will be launching in the coming days. So very exciting. And as always, our administration remains committed to access and transparency. So Council, I do want to thank you for your vote in approving the 2025 budget. It has made such an important investment in our Department of Human Services. I know that many of you have had conversations with DHS leadership, including a public post-agenda session about all of the budget and programs that are funded through the Department of Human Services. I do say that the leadership remains ready and accessible with all of your questions so that they can talk about the incredible work that our Department of Human Services does each and every day in our communities. One adjustment that happened with the budget that kind of flew under the radar is we actually moved our veterans services under the Department of Human Services because we will be able to provide a higher quality of care to our veterans here in Allegheny County, and I wanted to make a note of that, and we'll continue to invest in that division and ensure that our county's veterans have their needs met. And also, thanks to the increased county and state investments, last year, 12,861 children, the highest since pre-pandemic, were enrolled in child care subsidies through the Early Learning Resource Center. This means more parents can afford to go to work while ensuring their kids are in safe and high-quality care. So thank you for that. You're providing that to families. I want to congratulate Director Dalton on a successful winter shelter season. Recently, DHS has pivoted away from the Code Blue model and greatly expanded the number of beds that were available over the winter. So we can ensure that anyone coming off the streets would have a warm place to stay. And we did that with minimal disruption to our neighbors. And of course, winter shelter is not a permanent solution. So our 500 and 500 plan has been making incredible progress, with more than 233 units created or brought back online, and more than 369 people have already been housed through the initiative. So we'll have some more exciting announcements coming soon, but we remain committed to that program. DHS also worked with my office to step up and support our local refugee resettlement groups and families in crisis when the federal government suddenly announced that they were freezing funding for hundreds of families approved to come to America as refugees. DHS provided $224,000 in funding through the emergency family support to provide emergency family support. And we also worked with philanthropy and the city to fill the other gap that remained. So I want to thank Councilwoman Filiaggi for your compassionate remarks and the local news stories and really ensuring people know that Allegheny County is a compassionate place, and that in order for us to grow as a region, we have to send up the signal that we are welcoming to everyone. The one more thing I'd like to mention about DHS is the close partnership they have with the Allegheny County Jail to provide medication for addiction treatment, among other services. Year to date, we have increased 28% over last year of incarcerated individuals receiving medications for opioid use disorder at the ACJ. I want to acknowledge and thank Councilwoman Hallam again for your tireless advocacy on this issue. So jumping into the jail. As I mentioned, and we're going to be talking about the jail in a positive light, so just want to note that for everybody. So we welcome our new warden, Trevor Wingard, at the beginning of the year, and he has just been a joy to work with and really embedding himself and building up the team morality at the ACJ. He is bringing stability to the organization. We know we want to thank Interim Warden Dady for serving in that position, and we know that the new warden will build on that progress and continue to invest in the staff and the volunteers that do the work at the ACJ every day. An important example of the hard work that's happening is that the National Commission on Correctional Healthcare Accreditation at the ACJ was renewed in January. Earning the NCCHC accreditation is a big step forward in recognizing the professionalism that is becoming the new normal at the ACJ. The warden's accessibility and proactive communications have really helped make the jail oversight board meetings more productive and make sure everybody feels more in the loop on what is going on. I know the warden has been open to operational changes in the children's pod and has been applauded by both the JOB as well as advocates. The warden also implemented a new command structure to help units run more smoothly, and he's working with Animal Friends to bring a dog program to the jail. He also had this incredible idea to thank the volunteers that go into the ACJ every day. So we'll be hosting our first volunteer banquet at the ACJ on April 23rd, so everyone is invited. And finally, it is holy season, and I know many people will fast during Ramadan at the jail, and we will have a community celebration meal at the end of the holiday. Also, Bishop Zubik will return during Holy Week to lead a mass and foot washing ceremony for staff and incarcerated individuals. So, Council, if you would like to join for any of those events, please let us know. You are more than welcome. So, moving on to economic development. One of our most important investments at our county is our economic development department. So I'd like to offer a few updates on what we've been working on. ACD has distributed the first round of money from the Mon Valley Air Quality U.S. Steel settlement, which resulted from the 2018 Christmas Eve fire. Last week, ACAD put out a press release announcing the next round is open for applications. More information is available on ACD website, so anyone who's interested in applying for the next round of funding, it is open. And now is a great time to thank Councilman Macy for your continued advocacy for the Mon Valley. I know we share a vision of really tapping into the fullest potential of the Mon Valley and making sure that it can move forward in the future. And I think that we are in a great place to bring everyone to the table to do that. The ACAD team has also been hard at work getting $10.48 million in GEDTF funds out for the 72 community projects around the entire county. Now's a great time to acknowledge Councilman Walton, who we appreciate your leadership on the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County Board and your emphasis on wealth building and protecting community assets like Big Tom's. This type of work is important to our economic future of our region and the social fabric of our neighborhoods, and ACED will continue to focus on initiatives like that. This summer, ACED will begin public engagement around the county's comprehensive plan. This is our countywide strategic plan for growth. Because we need to grow as a region. But I'm really excited about this opportunity because it's a way to engage municipalities and stakeholders from a wide range of businesses and communities so that they can add their expertise to the conversation and we can collectively set goals of what we want our economic future in Allegheny County to look like. ACD is also growing their business development team. I and Director Conley are in frequent conversation with the business community, large and small employers, tech, startups, manufacturers, energy companies, and so much more, to understand from the region's businesses and their leaders what we need to invest in to have them continue to stay here and grow here and what their workforce needs are. So recently, I've been with ACD leadership to talk to life sciences leaders at a roundtable. I did a tour with tech leaders like Duolingo and met with clean energy companies looking to expand here. So I know all of these companies and this type of industry is critical to our growth as a region. And as I work closely with partners like the PDP and Visit Pittsburgh, what is apparent is that tourism continues to drive our economic recovery post-pandemic. We are excited that the U.S. Open will be in Oakmont this summer. I'm sure we'll see Councilman Fatoulis there. Hanging out. And then we have the NFL Draft in 2026, which will bring hundreds of thousands of people to our great county, and we are so thrilled about that. So these are great events because they not only bring people here who spend money, and that's great for our regional growth, but it's giving us an exciting opportunity to leverage capital to make legacy investments. Because, as I say, Yinzers deserve nice things. So things like downtown investments, the Arts Landing and Market Square construction, they are great examples of how we're leveraging this large event to really create critical assets that are going to live long beyond the NFL Draft. We will be doing a groundbreaking celebration for Arts Landing downtown with the governor next Wednesday. So again, you're all invited and we hope to see you there. And what has been critical to that success in downtown in leveraging public dollars for private investment has been the LRTA that was passed at the beginning of last year that paved the way for an historic $600 million investment that we announced alongside the governor to revitalize downtown Pittsburgh. It is a critical element of our economic recovery in the region post-pandemic. I remain committed to exploring economic development tools that are at our disposal that not only bring revenue into the county, but help us drive growth and shared prosperity throughout our region. Councilman Bukowski, we appreciate your leadership as the chair of the Economic Development and Job Creation Committee and ensuring the county utilizes these tools effectively. So whether it's been advancing the downtown LRTA or closing out the ones at Somerset at Frick Park, or closing out the Somerset at Frick Park TIF or the Westport TIF, which both were very successful in driving not only growth, but increasing the revenue that comes into the county. Today, I'm introducing legislation around the Manchester Chateau TRID, which is a Transit Revitalization Investment District, which is anticipated to bring thousands of jobs and over $1 billion in economic output in District 13. And I look forward to working with you all to move this proposal forward and continue towards a vision of building shared prosperity for everyone throughout the county. So with that, I want to thank Director Conley for being laser focused on how to set up ACD for success, because like I mentioned, growing our region is a key to growing our county's tax base and for balancing a budget now and into the future. I want to thank Budget Chair Palmasino again for working so closely with us to pass the budget in December. It is obviously still very early in the year, but things are looking good. I understand that we are on track both for revenue and expenditures, and we will continue to keep you updated. Director Cox and County Manager Fournier are meeting with Council quarterly to make sure that you are briefed on revenues and expenditures as we move through the budget year. This is a new approach because we want to make sure that you all are at the table and you can understand how the budget is being implemented and the state of our finances throughout the year. And I hope that you find these presentations very helpful and informative. And please give us feedback. We're always happy to bring more information or adapt as needed. So when we announced the budget last year, we also introduced a budget transparency tool on the county website that makes it easier for the public to interact with the budget and see where your county taxes go. So I want to encourage anyone who's interested in learning more about the budget to check it out. There's a QR code. It'll link it to it. So I want to end on this. So in addition to our county operations budget, obviously how the state chooses to spend its budget makes a huge impact on our region. I wanted to share with you that we are lobbying for more fiscal support from the state in some key areas, in senior care, in investment in healthcare at the jail, and for Pittsburgh Regional Transit and additional investments in that space. But I have to be frank that anything that happens at the state level still pales in comparison to the absolute recklessness and chaos at the federal government since the new administration has taken office in January. And while we have spent so much time together, we spent a lot of time together getting together a county budget that works for the people all last fall, we did not talk a lot about the grants and special account budget. Ultimately, the state and federal government decide what they provide to us or not, and that's reflected in that account specifically. So of course, we were dismayed when the Trump administration began announcing freezes and cuts. It has been a chaotic few months, and every day the list of potentially impacted projects changes. It's things like infrastructure and EV charging stations, Medicaid, housing, NIH grants, refugee resettlement money. It's just a few of the pots of money that we've been tracking, but we know there's many more that impact our region's economy. And for the county directly, we have to acknowledge that if there are cuts to Medicaid, that it could be devastating for our county Department of Human Services, especially in the mental and behavioral health space, as well as our cane facilities. So if we lose Medicaid funding for canes, that's money we have to make up or cuts we have to make. And so recently, you may have read that the budget deal, known as the Continuing Resolution, or CR, that passed through Congress, it kept the federal government operating until September, but it did cut all of the congressionally directed spending, which is commonly known as earmarks. And that included millions of dollars for Allegheny County. There was $3 million for the 500 and 500 initiative that was coming directly to the county. There was money for a new workforce training center in Rankin. There were enhancements for transit and pedestrian safety along PA Route 837, and flood mitigation in Turtle Creek. All of that is gone now. My administration is committed to governing with compassion and competency in the face of all of this chaos. And we will be transparent with council if and when federal cuts and freezes are going to significantly impact our budget or our shared agenda. So I want to thank you all for your attention. Thank you for your work in making sure that we can deliver for the people of Allegheny County. And now I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Are there any questions? Councilman Futulis?
Not necessarily a question, but a comment. We know in the news that the Port Authority is in trouble next year. Does this administration and us specifically have any plan to lobby to get more money from the state to help this deficit?
Yes. Thank you, Councilman Futulis. And I think it's important to recognize that we are perhaps the only, if not one of the few counties that does maximize our drawdown from the state in terms of bringing money back to our region for public transit. You heard Director Kellerman talk about for every dollar the county puts in, we get $17 back, right? That's that match, and we do maximize it. This is a crash that's been happening in slow motion for many years because of Act 89 that was passed in 2013. We, as an administration, are working with PRT, with advocates, with businesses to go up with a shared narrative to Harrisburg, talking about the importance that Pittsburgh Regional Transit has on our region, and that this is not only a great service to offer people so that they can get to the grocery store and to medical care, but it is actually an economic driver, and it's a lot of the reason why businesses locate here and choose to expand here. So we welcome you lending your voice to that advocacy in Harrisburg, and we will continue to take meetings with the governor's administration as well as leadership in both the House and Senate with both Democrats and Republicans, because it is truly a vital time, and we need to act accordingly.
Yeah, I think us council members and the administration and the public should lobby their state reps or senators and even the governor for assistance to continue, because from what I read, it's somewhere between 14 and 17 communities that would lose service completely.
Yes.
I can't imagine, like I heard McKeesport and Trafford, I can't imagine living in that community and all of a sudden discover that you are no longer going to have any sort of transportation whatsoever. I can't imagine how those people would actually live.
Yeah.
What a tragedy this could be.
Yeah.
So I think all of us in this room, I believe that all of us should lobby our state reps, our senators, the governor for help, because let's face it, transportation is the backbone of any city.
Yes, thank you, Councilman. I appreciate it, and I share your sentiment. And also want to recognize that there are many state House and Senate representatives, both Democrats and Republicans from Allegheny County, who support public transit and want to see it continue. So please encourage your state representative and your state senator to act, but also recognize that they have been champions in their own right for this money.
I don't want to wait until December to take that act. I think now's the time.
Yep, thank you.
We should all be aware of that.
Councilmember Grisbeck.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. County Executive Inamorado, thank you very much for your quarterly address. Some really fantastic things on there. Just while we're on the topic of PRT, we will have a letter from council that I believe 13 members are currently signed on to, expressing our support for that funding. If there's anything else that you know that we can do, that we can be of assistance, please certainly let us know.
Thank you.
The one item that I did have a question on was the shelter capacity that you spoke to. That was really exciting for me to hear. I remember prior to my time on council coming to a hearing about the shutdown of the Smithfield Street shelter, and it was abundantly clear at that point that we were not going to be remotely close to meeting the necessary shelter capacity. Even in the event that we were in Code Blue, it was seeming like we were going to be at a shortfall. So I was wondering how you all were able to accomplish that, where even outside of a Code Blue environment, you were able to provide the necessary beds that we need to make sure that our in-house neighbors are appropriately sheltered.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I will let Director Dalton provide to you all at a later time, kind of the nitty-gritty details. But high level, I mean, we really have to thank the leadership at Department of Human Services for directing funds towards that need. It is very expensive to fund emergency shelter system. We put out about $13 million a year to fund the infrastructure that we have. We also have to thank the community who hosted many of these shelters. They were great partners, and like I mentioned, these shelters operated with little to no disruption to the neighbors that were adjacent to these sites. So it shows that we can play host to these emergency facilities and also not disrupt people's day-to-day lives and for the residents who live around those places. So it's really, a lot of gratitude needs to be directed towards them for saying, like, yes, you are our neighbors, please be here. We appreciate that you're here. And, but really it was a mobilization of Human Services, our partners, and the communities that allowed us to open the number of beds that we did this year.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Hallam.
I think this is the first quarterly address where you answered all of my pre-prepared questions in your presentation. So ever in my time on council ever. So thank you very much for all that information. I just have one question.
And I knew you'd find something.
Yeah, of course. I had to come up with one. But I was just wondering if there's any plan, in the next quarter and before the end of the year for either free or subsidized bus passes or even parking spots for county employees.
So we have, as part of our hires executive order, we have a number of things listed. So what I gave you was just things that we've made progress on recently, but we have a whole list of things that we're working on to improve the benefits that we're offering the county workforce, because it's incredibly expensive to have county turnover. So in addition to, and we also have to recognize that we are public service, so we will never match the wages of the private sector, but we can start to make sure we're, within the range of what the market will bear for these positions. So we're looking at increasing wages, we're looking at childcare options, we're looking at transit options. CCAC is just one of the educational opportunities that we're looking at, and there's a number of others. And the county manager is actually going to, he'll be able to provide updates as they happen when he's giving you budget updates. So, I have to thank the county manager in his office for really leading on the implementation of those initiatives and really making sure that we're leaving no stone unturned when it comes to benefits that we can offer the great employees of the county.
Awesome. Thank you. I would like to strongly advocate for those bus passes and parking spots. So thank you very much.
Councilman Paul Mary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Executive, I know it's getting late and I don't want to belabor the point, but recently I had a customer of mine come in with a lady that he just married from Oklahoma, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I asked her how she liked Allegheny County and how she liked Pittsburgh. And she said to me, this is a beautiful area, but why do you people litter it so much?
Oh, gosh.
When she told me and said that, I started driving around. And now that the winter and all the snow and everything is melting away, and all of a sudden, there is litter everywhere. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves in Allegheny County for this beautiful area and the way it looks. Drive around sometime and take a look. And I'm hoping, Madam Chair, or Madam Executive, I'm hoping that we in Allegheny County can take some initiative with your administration, and especially now that we're going to have the open here, we're going to have the draft next year, we got to clean this place up. Whatever it takes. I'd be glad to chair whatever we got to do to get initiative started. This is absolutely imperative, I think, that we do this. And thank you for your time, Madam Chair. I hope it all works out.
Sure, thank you. And I'll take a moment to plug our Adopt a Street program through Department of Public Works. And, you know, I've worked with our local American Legions and VFWs to pick up trash off the side of the road. So any of you are welcome to join me at one of those days. There'll be plenty of opportunities with Earth Day coming up in April. So let's do it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Just one question for me, and not so much a question, just a statement. One of the topics that we talked about in our discussions was the expansion of the Schumann, getting up to the 60 beds, which was the phase 2 we talked about. And I believe we've started in the design work for that, and by the end of the year, if I remember correctly, I think we should have design planning back. Is that correct, or is that?
They're working on finalizing a footprint for the Schumann Center. So, you know, once that is finalized, we'll be able to share that with council.
Okay. And right now, is it at capacity every day, do you know, or what's the?
I'm not sure, but we
Okay.
can get that answer for you.
Okay, that'd be appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you,
course.
Madam Executive.
Yes, thank you, council.
We'll now have proclamations/certificates. 13462-25 is being held. 13463-25.
Actually, before proceeding, please let the record reflect that Ms. Nakaradi Chapkus is present by telephone and has been for quite some time. She's been patiently waiting for me to recognize her. 13463-25 is a proclamation declaring April 6th through 12th, 2025 as National Library Week in Allegheny County, sponsored by council members Filiaggi, Ambrazia, and Grisbeck.
Come join me. Madam Executive, if you can hear me, 14,411 tons of rock salt. I win. I actually didn't write it down, I just remembered it. Thank you for joining us today. Mine like a steel trap. Good evening, everybody. I'm proud to provide the proclamation this evening for our friends from the various library associations here in town. I think it's no secret that Pittsburgh is the hotbed of the library world. In 1890, Andrew Carnegie formed the first Carnegie Free Library with his own funds. And over time, over 2,509 libraries have been built across the world, something that we are very proud of as Pittsburghers, and something that we all cherish very much. I know personally, I've used it, and I know everybody else has as well. But the story of the Allegheny County Library Association actually began in 1991. And it began with an edict by the then Allegheny County Controller that said the system is in crisis. And so thankfully, the folks at the time got the group off the ground, and to this day we have, I believe it's 46 unique independent libraries in the Allegheny County Library Association, constituting about 70 locations. Thank you for your fine work, and it is my honor to present to you the proclamation today. Whereas libraries of all types are at the heart of their cities, towns, schools, campuses, serving their communities. Libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the population they serve to ensure equal access for all. And whereas today's libraries and their services extend far beyond the four walls of a building, and everyone is welcome to use their resources. Libraries are accessible and inclusive places where everyone is welcome to use their resources to help foster a sense of belonging and community. Whereas for people lacking broadband at home, libraries do provide access to computer and Wi-Fi, even checking out internet hotspots and laptops. And whereas we recognize librarians as information professionals who provide expertise, services, and guidance for patrons to access credible sources of material, making their own informed decisions about the world today. And whereas in times of crisis, libraries, librarians, and library workers play an invaluable role in supporting their communities both in person and virtually, and whereas to adapt to our changing world, libraries are expanding their resources. They're continuing to meet the needs of their patrons. They are accessible and inclusive places to foster that sense of belonging and community, whereas these libraries are cornerstones of our democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. Whereas America is celebrating National Library Week, including April 8 as National Library Workers Day, the immeasurable contributions made by library workers. April 9 as National Library Outreach Day, and our Allegheny County bookmobiles who regularly demonstrate that library services are not limited to their physical location, and April 10th as Take Action for Libraries Day, encouraging community support for libraries. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Allegheny County Council, myself, Member Mike Imbrezia, and Suzanne Filiaggi, proclaim National Library Week, April 6th through the 12th, 2025, drawn to the library. During this week, we encourage all residents to visit our libraries. Please get to the library. It's cool, man. I mean, it's seriously. And explore all that they offer to help improve PA forward. In witness thereof, we are hereunto cause the seal of the county of Allegheny County. Thank you very much. You're welcome to say a few words.
On behalf of the Allegheny County Library Association and all of our libraries, I would like to say thank you very much for this proclamation. And again, we encourage you to come out to our libraries. Come see what we have. I bet we can surprise you. So thank you very much for this. Thank you very much for your support, and we look forward to seeing all of you at the library.
Let's get over. Yes, please. Okay. Come on.
Okay, everyone ready? Everyone look at me right here.
A proclamation recognizing March 18th, 2025 as National Public Defender Day in Allegheny County, sponsored by Council Members Hallam and Grisbeck.
All right. Hello, everybody. So before I get into, my remarks from Chief Public Defender Lena Henderson and the reading of the proclamation, I would like to ask everybody who works for the Office of the Public Defender to please stand up. Can we give them a round of applause? And if you wouldn't mind all coming up one by one and accepting a proclamation on behalf of National Public Defender Day, and just say your name into the mic and accept the proclamation, please. So come on.
Oh, you got everybody.
Yeah. as they are doing this, our public defenders, not just here in Allegheny County, but across the country, don't get nearly the respect they deserve, the recognition that they deserve, and the love that they deserve. I know anybody that knows me knows how much I love my public defenders. It's not just the public defenders, it's the social workers, it's the support staff, it's everybody who day in and day out have chosen this career path because they're passionate about it, they care about the clients and the people that they serve, and I think you guys know you are my heroes. I was making sure I prepared remarks that didn't make me cry when talking about how much I love you all, but I just hope you know, even though this is the one day a year I get a chance to formally recognize you, I hope you know how supported you are every single day of the year. So please accept these proclamations and tell everybody your name and then have a seat.
Nikki Tufano.
Max Iverson.
Lauren Leegee.
My wife.
Sarah Hampton.
Josh Gukert.
Hi, I'm Taylor Korn.
Alina Chulik.
Alexa Glista.
Rakisha Foster.
Kyle Donovan.
Blair Schaefer.
Mike Berry. Thank you. Kevin Horn. Thanks, Bethany.
Thanks.
Mason Cook. Thank you.
Ben Zuckerman.
Celia DiCarlo.
Anthony Jessel. Thanks. Nick Welts.
Thank you.
Bobby Joe Chambers Jr.
Danielle McNabb.
Stacy Steiner.
And Lena, I have a stack after we're done for you to take back to the office for any folks who weren't able to make it tonight too, but I got a special leather one. All right, so thank you all so much. Truly, my words could not do justice for how much I appreciate everything you do, for how much I look up to you all, for how much I appreciate your partnership in serving the people who need us the most in this county. And I know you have not enough funding and too many cases on your caseload and not enough support from the powers that be in this world and often the community themselves, but I have seen the work you do. I have heard it from the folks inside the jail who have speak so highly of your representation. I have heard it from folks on the street who have not entered the jail because of your representation. And I know it's not just the dedicated attorneys, but again, also social workers, support staff, everyone else, leadership who make the department what it is. So with that, a proclamation recognizing 2025 National Public Defenders Day. Whereas in 1963, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled in Gideon versus Wainwright that citizens charged with a crime who cannot afford an attorney should have one provided to them. And whereas in this ruling, Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black wrote of the noble idea of the criminal justice system, which cannot be realized if the poor man charged with a crime has to face his accusers without a lawyer to assist him. And whereas March 18th marks the 62nd anniversary of that ruling, and over this time, lawyers, investigators, social workers, and support staff have worked tirelessly to uphold the noble idea of which Justice Hugo Black wrote, ensuring all individuals have access to quality legal representation. And whereas public defenders are often tasked with the difficult job of fighting against injustices and abuses of power while guarding the Constitution, human and civil rights of ordinary citizens, and whereas the Allegheny County Public Defender's Office is dedicated to defending their clients by providing skilled, aggressive, and passionate advocacy in order to preserve the rights guaranteed to all members of our community. And whereas the zealous individuals who answer the call to be a part of the Allegheny County Office of the Public Defender provide help to the helpless, hope to the hopeless, and a voice to those who so often are forced into silence. And whereas each member of the Allegheny County Office of the Public Defender operates with unparalleled commitment to the spirit of the Constitution and the rights guaranteed to all individuals who live within our borders. Their work is an invaluable resource to our county because a strong indigent defense system increases fairness and accuracy of our criminal justice system and contributes to the safety and security of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Allegheny County Council Member Bethany Hallam, do hereby recognize March 18, 2025 as National Public Defender Defender Day in Allegheny County and honor the selfless work of public defenders across the Commonwealth. In witness whereof, I have hereunto caused the seal of the County of Allegheny to be affixed this 25th day of March 2025. So I want to present this to our Chief Public Defender, Lena Henderson, and ask her to say a few words on behalf of the office. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, and the rest of the council, Bethany. She already said a lot of things that I was going to say, but I want to sincerely thank everyone here and everyone who couldn't come for the energy you give to the clients, the dedication, the commitment on a daily basis. When you think you can't do it anymore, you come every day and you do it. These are people who can't talk for themselves, who can't advocate for themselves, and if they knew how much you gave, they would be as thankful as I am. You are motivated by love. That's all I can think of, is that it's only love that could motivate you to come in and do the hard work that you do every day. She allowed you to, Bethany allowed you to say your names today, but I would like to also say some names today. This year will mark the 60th anniversary of the Allegheny County Public Defender's Office. Believe it or not, I'm 60, so it really means a lot to me to recognize the people who came before any of the people that any of these people today knew. One of them's name is Steve Schwem. He dedicated his entire legal life to our office. He was there at its inception, and he died serving the people in the public defender's office. I know Suzanne remembers Steve Schwem. I also want to recognize the people, attorneys and support staff that have given at least 15 years of their lives by name. Nikki Tafano, Cecilia Johnson, better known as Cece, Leslie Perlow, Christopher Patarini, Jackie Kearney, Marcy Nord, Kathleen Miskovich, Michelle Harton Bonarato, David O'Bara, Sister Rita Murillo, Scott Rudolph, Martin Aronson, Stacy Steiner, Barry Wingard, Art Ettinger, he always tells me that I don't say his name right, Amy Lindberg, Anthony Barrero, Anastasia Clary, Bob Keys, Tracy Camarado, Linda Wolf, Brandon Ging, Heath Leff, Richard Romeko, Josh Roberts, and Marilee Jenkins. I want to recognize all those people. And I also want to recognize my team that consists of Senior Deputy Andy Howard and Sarah Linder, Steve Tahovnik, and the rest of the deputies and managers. I'm sure I'm leaving people's names also. Please excuse me. For some reason, I'm a little bit nervous. But again, I thank everyone here that came, and I especially thank Sarah Enamorado for supporting what's not always and has not always been popular to support the indigent defense. I can't say enough, but thank you. I especially thank you.
And did I give you the stack? Yes. Yes. Okay. And do you all want to come up for a pic? Please.
I feel like I'm in church.
Forgets all these people. The whole room.
Long time ago. You got it? Okay, cool. Long time ago. Well.
Yeah. Everyone ready? Look here. Give me a smile. Give on the phone.
Almost.
And 3, 2, 1. One more. Got it.
My glasses.
Your glasses are here.
Not particularly, no.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That's all it is. That was nice, huh?
Yeah, that's good.
Good. That made me happy.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming. See you. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, guys.
A proclamation recognizing March 29th, 2025 as Vietnam War Veterans Day, sponsored by Councilmembers Hallam and Grisbeck. Also. And Mr. Macy as well.
I didn't know I was going to do this. Well, you made it perfect.
Ooh, I'm going to come. Okay. All right, so next up, we have a proclamation recognizing Vietnam War Veterans Day on behalf of myself and Councilmember Grisbeck. Whereas the Vietnam War is a story of service members of different backgrounds, colors, and creeds who came together to complete a daunting mission. It is a story of Americans from every corner of the nation who left the warmth of family to serve their beloved country. And whereas, as citizens of Allegheny County, we must never forget the pain and suffering that lingers today for the men and women who fought with honor and distinction in the name of freedom and democracy for all. And whereas we remember the men and women who so honorably served during more than a decade of fighting in challenging terrains of Southeast Asia, where they faced extraordinary and unprecedented dangers, we will never forget their sacrifice, and we value their continued service to their fellow veterans today, as they embody the motto of the Vietnam Veterans of America: never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And whereas this conflict defined an entire generation of Americans and is a story of patriots who braved the line of fire, who cast themselves into harm's way to save a friend, who fought hour after hour, day after day, to preserve the liberties we value. And whereas since their return, these veterans have contributed tremendously to their communities, the county, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the nation. They have displayed unparalleled support for those currently serving by providing welcoming celebrations for those returning and honors to those who have fallen. And whereas through this commemoration on March 29, 2025, the county, the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, and the Office of Veterans Affairs will partner with all citizens of this great county, state, and nation to honor and remember our Vietnam veterans and their families for their courage, sacrifice, and valor. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Allegheny County Councilmember Bethany Hallam, along with County Councilmember Dan Grisbeck, do hereby proclaim March 29, 2025 as the commemoration of the anniversary of Vietnam War Veterans Day, and I commend those brave men and women who served with honor and dignity in an effort to ensure that their great sacrifices and immeasurable contributions are never forgotten on this Vietnam War Veterans Day and every day. In witness whereof, I have hereunto caused the seal of the County of Allegheny to be affixed this 25th day of March 2025. And Ms. Shirley, if you'd like to say a few words.
Not really, but I've always been a friend of a microphone. On behalf of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, which represents almost 200,000 active members today, and also the Kushki Trail chapter, which is my local chapter here in Pittsburgh, I want to thank you. And I also want to say thank you on behalf of myself as a military wife and a military mom. I want to thank you all for recognizing the service and sacrifice of all of the soldiers and their family members during the Vietnam War. May we never forget them. Thank you.
Jared, I'd like to be out of this. Is there anyone who doesn't want to be out? Add everyone.
Everyone?
How did the Daughters of the American Revolution they have quite a history.
Okay. All right, here we go.
They barred Mary Ann Anderson from singing their Constitution.
Got it.
Yes, absolutely.
Daughter Roosevelt, who was a daughter of the American Revolution, resolved from society
The remaining proclamations will be run to the record. Go ahead.
1346-625 is a proclamation recognizing Indiana Township's Mayor Darren Crowley, sponsored by Councilmember Pritzio. 13467-25 is a proclamation congratulating Matthew Thomas Ricciuti on achieving the rank of Eagle Scout, sponsored by Councilmember Grisbeck.
We'll now have public comment on agenda items, and I'm going to let Fred Sims go first. Fred?
Good evening. My comments are in regards to Rabbi Moshe Meir Vogel and the Juvenile Detention Board of Advisors. As I said, my name is Frederick Sims. I'm a resident of McKees Rocks. I was introduced to Aleph Institute while I was incarcerated in Pennsylvania. Growing up in Ohio, I didn't have family nearby. So my time inside, I rarely received visits or mail. The prison system can be incredibly isolating and dehumanizing, especially for those of us who feel as though we've been forgotten. And that isolation can easily turn into anger. I know because I experienced it. I carried that anger inside of me and directed it outward at the world and inward. And as I started to exploring my spirituality, I came across a publication by Rabbi Vogel, and his words resonated with me. They weren't just stories. They were messages of hope, dignity, and second chances. I began attending religious services and programming led by volunteers from Aleph Institute. And through them, I found a sense of community and a space for reflection and people who genuinely cared. Rabbi Vogel's compassion and consistent support during that difficult chapter in my life were life-changing. He embraced me without judgment and guided me towards something better. When I was released, I moved to Pittsburgh, and once again, Rabbi Vogel was there, this time to welcome me into the Jewish community. That transition was not easy. Rebuilding your life never is. But with his encouragement, I continued to stay the course. I'm proud to say that I've been clean and sober for over 11 and a half years. And thank you. Before my incarceration, I was living at the poverty line, almost homeless. And today, not only do I own my own home, but I have 2 successful businesses and provide housing for other people. All of that progress, every step forward can be traced back to the care and compassion I received from Rabbi Vogel and the Aleph Institute. I have no doubt that Rabbi Vogel's strength, wisdom, and decades of experience supporting incarcerated individuals will make him an invaluable asset to the Juvenile Detention Board of Advisors. Thank you.
Next up is Jeremy Kazaz.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeremy Kazaz. I'm a resident of District 11 in Squirrel Hill. I want to thank you all for advancing Rabbi Vogel's nomination, and I want to thank Councilperson Nakaredi Chapkis and President Katina in particular for your thoughtful leadership throughout the process to find the most qualified candidates. In my family's Iraqi tradition for Passover, we adopt a tradition from our Moroccan brothers and their customs, and we lift the Seder plate above our heads and we chant, Bipilu yatzanu mimitzrayim, in haste we left Egypt. It's a physical act to evoke radical empathy, meant to help us truly feel what it means to be oppressed, to yearn for freedom, and to begin the journey home. That kind of empathy, real, radical empathy, is rare, but it's something that Rabbi Vogel embodies. For decades, Rabbi Vogel has been a lifeline for incarcerated people and their families, offering care and dignity, unwavering support, not just during incarceration, but throughout the long road to reintegration into society. His work is rooted in the belief that every human being is worthy of compassion, regardless of where they have been. And I've had the privilege of working with him, advocating for religious rights inside of prisons, showing up in night courts, studying legal protections for incarcerated people, and fighting to ensure that religious minorities, like Muslims and Jews, are not denied basic rights, like access to communal prayer, nutritious food that meets our dietary standards. Rabbi Vogel shows up every time. He listens, he acts, he never backs down when justice is on the line. And that is the kind of perspective and spirit that we need on the Juvenile Detention Advisory Board, one grounded in lived experience, in moral clarity and radical empathy that's required to build a more just and humane system, especially when it comes to caring for minors. I hope that the Chief Executive shares in that assessment, and thank you.
Next up is Yisrael Altain.
Not here.
And last up would be Estelle Comey.
She's here.
I thank you for the opportunity to make public comment about the nomination of Moshe Mayer Vogel to the Allegheny County Juvenile Detention Center Board of Advisors. As you know, Schumann Center closed in 2021, and they're now attempting to reopen it to provide care and a place for juvenile offenders. They hope to build trust, to create a safe environment for these young people, counseling, rehabilitating troubled children, and serving a constituency of young people 10 to 20 years old. Rabbi Vogel has been nominated to this position. He came to Pittsburgh from Manchester, England, about 20 years ago to establish the Olive Institute. This was an organization dedicated to assisting Jewish men and women in prisons, incarcerated in federal and state prisons throughout Western Pennsylvania, something that had never been done before. His work with Olive Institute expanded to serve persons and prisoners not only throughout the western half of Pennsylvania, but expanded to Ohio, West Virginia, and parts of Maryland. He is, as you've heard, a man of compassion and kindness. He's intelligent and resourceful. He's an effective leader in this effort. One of the things he does amazingly well is fundraising. He single-handedly funds the Olive Institute efforts. Obviously, as you heard, an initiative that is not popular within the community. He has recruited others to serve with him in the prisons and currently has 41 rabbis from all denominations and other persons who regularly visit jails and counsel incarcerated men and women in prisons throughout the tri-state area. His work, in addition, goes far beyond that. He provides help, as you heard, and support for families of those jailed whose spouses and children suffer emotional and financial hardships. He has developed reentry programs.
Thank you.
My 3 minutes is up.
Yep.
Let me just say, he's amazing. And he will really bring fiscal responsibility to this effort.
We'll move on to the approval of minutes 13468-25.
A motion to approve the minutes of the February 25th, 2025 regular meeting of council.
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Presentation of appointments. All the appointments being presented this evening are referred to the Committee on Appointment Review. If there are no objections, I'd like the clerk to read them all at this time. Hearing none, go ahead.
Okay, all of the appointments being presented tonight have effective terms through March 25th, 2028. 13454-25 is the reappointment of Lauren McAndrews to the Friends of North Park. This next group is all sponsored by Councilmember Filiaggi. That first one was sponsored by Councilmember Papritzio. 13455-25 is the reappointment of Barbara Gertner to the Friends of North Park. 13456-25 is the reappointment of Nancy Furby to the Friends of North Park. 13457-25 is the reappointment of Heidi Fornalczyk to the Friends of North Park. 13458-25 is the reappointment of Lawrence Steckel to the Friends of North Park. 13459-25 is the reappointment of Gerard Offman to the Friends of North Park. Next up is 13460-25. That is the reappointment of Kenneth Alsaus to the Friends of North Park. That one is sponsored by Councilmember Ambrosia. And last up is 13461-25, approving the appointment of Roberta Haast to the Friends of the Park for South Park. That is sponsored by Councilmember Grisbeck.
Thank you. And we'll now move on to unfinished business. Committee on Appointment Review of the second reading. Pursuant to the court's ruling in the recent Schuman Center litigation, council has to submit 3 recommendations for appointment to the new Juvenile Detention Advisory Board. And the chief executive is to appoint one of those 3 individuals as a citizen member of the board. The 3 unfinished business items from appointment review are therefore not confirming any appointments, but rather the votes are making 3 recommendations to the chief executive. 13318-25 is the first one.
Recommending to the Chief Executive, Dr. Terry Collin Dillmore to the Juvenile Detention Board of Advisors, sponsored by Councilmember Grisbeck.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion.
Made.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Do we need a roll call vote on this, or?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call vote, please, Jared.
On the motion to approve, Mr. Betkowski.
Yes.
Mr. Bonarotti.
Yes.
Mr. Ambrosia.
Yes.
Ms. Filiaggi.
Yes.
Mr. Fatulis.
Yes.
Mr. Grisbeck.
Yes.
Ms. Hallam.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Mr. Macy.
Yes.
Ms. Nacarati Chapkus.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes.
Mr. Palmasina.
Yes.
Ms. Pritzio. Mr. Walton.
No.
President Katina.
Yes.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The recommendation passes.
13406-25.
Recommending to the Chief Executive, Rabbi Moshe Meyer Vogel, to the Juvenile Detention Board of Advisors, sponsored by Councilmember Filiaggi.
Is there a motion to approve on this one?
Motion
make
to
a
approve.
motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Do we need a roll call on this one? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 13408-25.
Recommending to the Chief Executive, Lee Davis, to the Juvenile Detention Board of Advisors, sponsored by Councilmember Nacarati Chapkus.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Committee on Health and Human Services for the second reading, 13344-24.
An ordinance of the Council of the County of Allegheny ratifying revisions of Article 3 of the Allegheny County Health Department Rules and Regulations concerning food safety, sponsored by the Chief Executive.
Councilmember Klein.
Thank you, Mr. President. At its meeting on March 19th, the Committee on Health and Human Services approved revisions of Article 3 of the Allegheny County Health Department Rules and Regulations concerning food safety. It comes before this council with an affirmative recommendation this evening, and at this time, I would ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please, Jared.
On the motion to approve, Mr. Betkowski.
Yes.
Mr. Bonarotti.
Yes.
Mr. Ambrosia.
Yes.
Ms. Filiaggi.
Yes.
Mr. Fatulis.
Yes.
Mr. Grisbeck.
Yes.
Ms. Hallam.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Mr. Macy.
Yes.
Ms. Nacarati Chapkus.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes.
Mr. Palmasina.
Yes.
Ms. Pritzio. Mr. Walton.
Yes.
President Katina.
Yes.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill passes.
Thank you. Are there any liaison reports this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on. New business and ordinances and resolutions, 13470-25.
An ordinance of the County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, directing that a referendum question regarding the amendment of Article 3, Section 5B of the Home Rule Charter of Allegheny County, which establishes term limits for a single elected county official, be placed on the November 4th, 2025 general election ballot, further amending Article 3, Section 5B and Articles 201, 301, and 401 of the Administrative Code of Allegheny County, contingent upon the passage of the referendum question, sponsored by Councilmembers Grisbeck, Pritzio, Bonarotti, Filiaggi, and Hallam.
That will go to the Committee on Government Reform, 13471-25.
An ordinance of the County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, directing the referendum question regarding the amendment of Article 3, Section 7C of the Home Rule Charter of Allegheny County, which prohibits county funding for personal staff, county council members, be placed on the November 4th, 2025 general election ballot, and further amending Article 3, Section 7C, contingent upon the passage of the referendum question, sponsored by Councilmembers Hallam, Grisbeck, Pritzio, and Macy.
That will go to Government Reform, 13472-25.
An ordinance of the County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing Community Specialist Corporation to continue to use real property in the county's South Park as a respite and wellness center for healthcare workers and first responders, sponsored by the Chief Executive.
That will go to Committee on, I'm sorry, this is 13472-25?
Correct.
That's going to Parks. And 13473-25.
An ordinance of the County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing 100 Acres Manor Incorporated to continue to use real property located in the county's South Park to conduct their annual 100 Acres Manor Haunted House attraction, sponsored by the Chief Executive.
That will go to Government Reform, 13474-25.
A resolution of the County of Allegheny agreeing to participate in a transit revitalization investment district plan for Phase 1 of the Manchester Chateau project and authorizing related agreements, sponsored by the Chief Executive.
I'm sorry, for 13473-25, that's not going to Government Reform, that's going to go to Parks.
Thank you.
13474-25, that's going to the Committee on Economic Development and Job Creation. Notification of contracts, 13469-25.
A communication summarizing approved executive actions for the month of February 2025.
Is there a motion to receive and file?
Receive and file.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll have public comment on general items. Go ahead, Jared.
We have several. First up is Lisa Graves Marcucci.
Not here.
Yes, she is.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see her.
Thank you. This is the 2018 audit of the Allegheny County Health Department Title V program by the United States EPA, in which they noted serious concerns about staffing and permitting fees. I'm going to cite 6 very short quotes that I think are very pertinent and very important. Quote, "A primary challenge to ACHD's ability to adequately implement the Title V programming is the current permitting workload exceeds staffing levels." Allegheny County Health Department cited a hesitancy in filling positions due to the Title V budgetary considerations. For instance, dwindling Title V fees was indicated by ACHD as the reason for the delay in replacing the system programmer. EPA strongly recommends that ACHD should increase permit engineer staffing levels to a level sufficient for current workloads. And EPA would like to reiterate that the hiring of permitting engineers should be prioritized by ACHD. The existing fee structure is not situated to adapt to future circumstances and could possibly undermine long-term program sustainability. ACHD shall provide an analysis of the Title V expenditures and revenue to determine whether the fee schedule used results in fees that are in sufficient amounts to meet the requirements of the Federal Clean Air Act, and that the fees are sufficient to solely cover the costs of the Title V program. And most importantly, EPA has identified deliverables which ACHD must resolve. If ACHD does not demonstrate adequate progress on resolving these identified issues in this report, EPA will consider issuing a notice of deficiency in the future. I've been raising concerns about the staffing and permit fee schedules for nearly a year. And recently, my concerns were heightened even further when I understand that Mr. Rabinowitz presented to the Board of Health a plan to balance the ACHD budget by not filling 10 vacant positions. We need to know more about that proposal. Specifically, which ACHD positions is he proposing not to fill and why? If those positions were left unfilled, would we be violating Federal Clean Air Act, and would we leave our program in jeopardy of dedelegation? And finally, the issue of ACHD permitting has long been a concern of EPA. We have a common sense solution on the table right now. Permit fees raised by funds collected from the operators. It's a common sense need, and it is something that we need to do to provide the proper staffing and oversight and protect our health. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want the report?
Next up is Kate Walker.
Not here. Next.
Thank you. Thank you.
John Kenstowitz.
He's here.
John Kenstowitz, 828 Jancy Street, Pittsburgh, 15206. Connecting the dots between our correctional officers' exposure to potential violence and the officers' low life expectancy at 61. Why is your vote regarding the restraint chair and leg shackles so important to our correctional officers? Let's connect the dots. The National Institute of Justice has identified the job of the correctional officer as one of the most stressful jobs in our country. The Department of Justice has identified the constant exposure to the risk of potential violence where the officer has to physically intervene is what distinguishes the job of a correctional officer from other occupations. Studies have found that the PTSD of correctional officers are 8 times the national average and a rate that is more than double the military. Studies have also found that this constant exposure to potential violence has a major effect on the physiological and psychological effects of our officers. Elevated heart rate and blood pressure, a weakened immune system, a change in diet, and a disturbance of the sleep cycle are a few of the symptoms. Stress, anxiety, and depression are common psychological consequences. Over time, these negative physical and psychological effects take a toll and are a major reason why our officers' life expectancy is so low at 61 years of age, 16 years below yours and mine at 77. Their suicide rate is 7 times the national average. I believe there is a striking correlation between your yes vote on our agenda initiative and how long our officers will be living. Imagine the families of correctional officers who are experiencing these harsh realities and the knowledge that their spouse could very possibly be dead by the age of 61. And to know they are the only correctional families in the state of Pennsylvania who are experiencing some of these harsh consequences because of the ban on the restraint chair and leg shackles. Some of our officers are working 80 hours in 5 days, significantly increasing the severity of many of the symptoms I've just mentioned. Such a work schedule robs our officers of what is called a parasympathetic experience in which their batteries could recharge. The symptoms I've mentioned just dramatically increase for these officers over time and contribute to a very high turnover rate. The Warden Wingard has made some significant positive changes. The families of our correctional officers are struggling with their future. Our officers and their families need a win badly now to build their confidence in the professional care of their officers and to make their plans for the future. Now is the time for us to hear our correctional officers' family cry for help and respond with kindness, fortitude, and a commitment to do what is right. Thank you.
Next.
Zachary Barber.
Need to come on.
Are you hiding, Councilman?
Good evening. My name is Zach Barber. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is my first time being back to council in my new role as a private citizen, no longer representing a local air quality group, but I wanted to come out and encourage you all to vote to move forward the revised air permitting fees that are so critical for county staff at Allegheny County Health Department's air program. As many of you know, Allegheny County sadly has some of the strongest, highest levels of air pollution from industrial facilities in the entire U.S., and a lot of this comes from just a small handful of polluters. 10 facilities churn out upwards of 2/3 of the industrial toxic emissions here in Allegheny County. The county staff at the air program are responsible for setting air permits with levels, with limits on those emissions, monitoring to make sure that those permits are being complied with, and then taking legal action if and when companies break the law. This is all legally required under the Federal Clean Air Act, and the funding for this program under the Clean Air Act, as Lisa said earlier, is required to come from permitting fees on the polluting industries, which should make sense because your parents, much like mine, probably said that if you make a mess, you're responsible for helping to clean it up, which is why these polluter pays methods are the standard way to pay for these programs. Unfortunately, our health is at risk because years of underfunding have left the health department understaffed, and I'm dismayed to hear that they may consider eliminating more positions to offset the budget shortfall that they face. It's time that we pass this. It's not only the legally right thing to do, but it will help kids breathe easier. Kids with asthma, we have many of them here in Allegheny County. Kids living near these industrial facilities suffer from asthma at 2 to 3 times the national rate. And so for them, the decision to sit on this means more days of missed school and more chances to go to the hospital because they can't breathe. So please move these forward. They're legally required and critical for our health. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Cindy Meckel.
Say it again, please.
Cindy Meckel.
Thank you.
President Katrina, I've
My husband and I are doing this together. We're coming to you today to advise you that we are leaving Allegheny County. We're giving up our homes so the county will no longer benefit from the taxes we pay annually. We believe we're not the only ones moving out of the county, specifically the Mon Valley, and feel it necessary to tell you why. In 2018, Christmas Eve, there was a fire at the U.S. Steel Clairton Coke Works. The air quality has been terrible ever since. We've filed numerous complaints with ACHD. Since the fire, U.S. Steel has not been required to improve their air quality, and in fact have been fined repeatedly for exceedances in air quality measures, but have not been required to remediate the causes, nor required to update their air quality equipment, which is decades old. While the dark gray smoke once covering the city may be gone, improving appearances, the emissions from this plant are continuing to poison the residents of the Mon Valley every day. We have had air monitors placed in our yard with Environmental Integrity Project and CMU, which found benzene, a known carcinogen, at 17 parts per million. Very dangerous. Further, we paid to have our soil tested and found lead and arsenic levels so high that the analyst at Penn State advised us not to have our grandchildren play in the yard without 6 inches of mulch covering the grass. The air and particulate matter leaving U.S. Steel property and trespassing on our property is allowed to continue and to victimize us. In the last 10 years, we've had 3 dogs die of cancer. How long until our own diagnosis? During the county executive's campaign, we heard her repeatedly campaign on the promise of environmental changes in the Mon Valley, yet nothing has happened beyond naming a new head of the health department. And sadly, Dr. Van has no air quality experience by her own admission. My husband and I met with Dr. Van in November of 2024, and not even one of our questions have been answered. The ACHD continues to hide behind the right to know laws. In fact, ACHD had an 18-month study of air quality specifically on benzene done concurrently with the EIP and CMU study, yet nothing's been done with the results of that study, nor have the results been made public. Another question of Dr. Van, which to this day has not been answered. I have heard this body be critical of the federal government for not following through on the promise of funding several projects. Yet what are the residents in Allegheny County and the promises that the county executive made to us? To my husband and I, it's hypocritical to criticize others when in Pennsylvania, an environmental right amendment exists, assuring residents of clean air and water, and is ignored.
Thank you.
And is within your purview and responsibility.
Thank you. Gonna turn it over to your...
I joined an air quality group after 2018 fire, Valley Clean Air Now. I have tried to involve the local borough councils, county council, and the ACHD to take action, but to no avail. After the fire, a community trust was created for the 5 affected boroughs, but not $1 was spent on air quality or the effect of air to the residents of the 5 boroughs. This fire so badly impacted, despite repeated requests, even after VCAN fighting for the last 7 years, U.S. Steel continues to spew their poison in this valley with impunity. Since I have moved here, I have my wife's health has declined dramatically and frightening. She has been treated for asthma, anemia, and multiple times of physical activity has been dramatically, our physical activity has been dramatically decreased. We can't even rake our yard in a normal fashion without getting out of breath and getting dizzy. Can't even walk up our steps without getting out of breath and getting dizzy because the air is so polluted. We believe we are not alone. U.S. Steel can exist and thrive in this valley, contributing to the county's economy, but needs to be held to the standards of the law. But it isn't. It is allowed to continue to spew poison without impunity. As an incidence of asthma and cancer in the Mon Valley continue to grow at a rapid rate. We have tried to make A difference in the last 7 years, and our organization, VCAM, Valley Clean Air, has placed hundreds of air purifiers in the homes of residents of the Mon Valley without help from the county and without help from the health department. But,
go ahead. Keep going.
But poisoning continues to some of the most vulnerable residents of Allegheny County and continues under your leadership. Despite promises to change, shame on your leadership and the lack of the residents. We aren't turning away, but see it as escaping the poison of Allegheny County and the lack of leadership.
The champion.
To champion and, in fact, ignore the PA Constitution, the right to clean air. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Margaret Whalen.
Not here?
We can't hear the name.
Margaret Whalen?
She has to leave.
Okay, not here?
Kellyanne Ferketic.
She's here, or she was here, yeah.
Hi, thank you. Looks like we got a theme tonight. So let me jump into it. I'm asking Allegheny County Council members to address the ongoing air quality problems, outdated air permits, and understaffing of the air quality program. I would like you to bring the ordinance to increase these fees up for a vote. The Clean Air Act requires the health department to charge these Title V permit fees that are sufficient enough to cover the costs of administering the program. They have to pay for their own stuff. However, at last week's Board of Health meeting, they indicated that the air quality program had a deficit of over $540,000 for 2024, and they approved using clean air funds to use as a partial stopgap. However, clean air funds are supposed to be going to the community members from past violations of emissions. Article 21 does permit the health department to use 5% of the balance of clean air funds for its operational needs if necessary, and that's exactly how much they took, the maximum. And that was just to balance their budget. By using the clean air funds, the people who should be receiving this due to a previous violation are not. I don't think that they should have to contribute to this Clean Air Act specifically to it, and the Clean Air Act specifically states that they should not have to. To me, this should be a no-brainer. Voting no to increase would be putting part of the burden on your community, who should be benefiting, not paying. Continuing to delay this vote is taking money away from your communities. Please bring this ordinance up for a vote, and I have full faith that all of you will put your constituents ahead of polluting them. Thank you.
Gail Newstadt.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Gail Newstadt. I live in Swickley, and I'm urging County Council to allocate necessary funding to fully staff and operate the Allegheny County Health Department Air Quality Program. Due to this lack of funding, our county's ability to monitor and enforce air pollution regulations is severely compromised. This is not just a bureaucratic issue, it's a matter of public health, environmental responsibility, and constitutional obligation. Pennsylvania is one of 3 states with the blessed Environmental Rights Amendment in its Constitution. Article 1, Section 27 states, "The people have a right to clean air, pure water, and to the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment." It further declares that as trustees, which you all are, of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all the people. Yet, Due to budget shortfalls, our county fails to uphold this responsibility. The air quality program lacks the resources to enforce permits, monitor pollution levels, or hold violators accountable. This failure directly impacts your residents. We know the facts. Our county has long struggled with poor air quality, ranking among the worst in the nation for pollution-related health risks. High asthma rates, persistent respiratory diseases put children and seniors particularly at risk. Meanwhile, industrial polluters continue to operate with little oversight because the health department lacks the funding to do its job effectively. This is unacceptable, and residents should not have to live in fear of what they are breathing. Businesses should not operate without accountability. And our government should not ignore its constitutional duty to protect the health and well-being of its people. You can fulfill Pennsylvania's constitutional promise by passing the proposed fee increases, securing dedicated funding for the air quality program. This funding allows the department to hire much-needed staff, administrators, inspectors, and enforcement officers to monitor our air properly and effectively address polluters. Investing in air quality is an investment in public health, economic stability, and the long-term well-being of Allegheny County. Cleaner air means fewer hospital visits, lower health care costs, and a healthier workforce. It also means attracting businesses and families who want to live in a county that prioritizes environmental responsibility. This is a moment to act, not delay. I urge you to fully fund the air quality program and ensure that every resident of Allegheny County can breathe cleaner, healthier air, just as our Constitution guarantees. Thank you.
Karen Sloan.
Karen Sloan.
Next. There she's here.
As a single person 17 years ago, I found myself establishing a rooted life here in Allegheny County, where colleagues pointed out that Presbyterians are most dense. And in living here, I have become a wife and a mother. Actually, a mother who happens to be involved with scouting, kids who all aspire to earn their eagle. So this was rather inspirational hearing the proclamation tonight, so thank you for that. And I've been able to grow tremendously in my work as a Presbyterian pastor. This region is not only the home for my kids, but it is a home for my heart. And it is my deep desire to see and support our continued flourishing here. As I often pray, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done. And this next part, it's essential. On earth as it is in heaven. God's hope for all of us is that it is on earth as it is in heaven, heaven on earth. And one of the sweet parts of moving here years ago from a very overcrowded city is how drivers are often so patient with each other. The driving manners here can sometimes be a little taste of what it is like in heaven. And for me to fit in with all this driving kindness, I had to relearn some of my less than heavenly driving habits, to slow down, to make space for others, to be gentle. And just as our rivers become cleaner and cleaner, welcoming back more wildlife, that's heavenly too. And as pollutants continue to be removed from our soil and our buildings, I know God smiles. Lead remediation programs have had a personal impact on our kids and our neighbors' kids. And as all of us are providing spaces for our children and for their children and so on and so forth, to grow up with so much more health with the water and the soil and the air. I bet you can see where this is going. Our region needs well-funded air quality. This is a growth area for all of us. And county council members, I trust that you have heard many thoughtful reasons to move forward with legislation for pollution permit fee increases. Well, this is a fantastic strategy for a cleaner earth to support our children and all those who will be raising children after us. And I also want to lift up the truth that providing more resources to the air quality program brings more heaven right here on Earth in Allegheny County. So please vote in favor of the pollution fee permit increase. Thank you.
Next.
Bell Carlton.
And this is Bell Carlton. Okay, Bell.
Wrong one. Try again. Okay, you want to say hi?
Hi, County Council. I'm a kid who lives here my whole life, and I'm looking forward to being healthier and stronger as I get bigger. But I'm not the one. But I'm just one kid, and I'm speaking up for all the kids who live here. Can you think about a kid you love who lives here too? Can you think about them being healthier and stronger as they get bigger? I want the kid that you love and me and all the other kids to have fresh, clean air. And so please increase the funding of the air quality program. Thank you.
Next.
Natisha Washington.
Next.
Jonathan Blanton.
Tough act to follow. My name is Jonathan Blanton. I live in Brighton Heights. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Air quality is critical to the health of everyone in the county. Countless people here today have already contacted your offices warning you of the elderly that will die in thermal inversions, the children who will develop asthma, and the countless taxpayers who will leave in search of a home that every year that our air quality goes unaddressed. I share these and many other health concerns about our air quality, but I suspect that many of you are concerned about the impact that to the many industrial employers in our region, and I would like to speak to that concern specifically. A tax or regulation avoided is not a consequence avoided. A regulator catching a problem early may inconvenience a business, but that intervention is the cheapest consequence a business could hope for. How many businesses have been driven into bankruptcy paying for the damage that years of negligence has caused? How many businesses have been driven into quality death spirals trying to cut corners to compete? Dun & Bradstreet, as well as the Center for Economic Policy Research, have repeatedly found that strong regulations result in lower rates of bankruptcy and lower rates of dissolution of businesses during bankruptcy. Strong regulations and efficient, well-funded regulators don't just protect people, they protect the businesses that they regulate. Very few people are enthusiastic about new taxes, but very few people want to lose the countless benefits those taxes fund. Please vote to fund air quality testing and regulation, not just for the people living in Allegheny County, but to make this a safer and more stable place to run a manufacturing business. Thank you.
Next.
Paula Skomenia. Paula Skomenia.
She's here.
Hi, I'm Paula Skomenia. I live in Highland Park, and I'm speaking in support of the air quality permit fee increases in cleaner air. I echo the concerns related to asthma and cancer, and also want to speak on the effects of air pollution on the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. A growing body of research links higher levels of fine particulate air pollution, which we have, with a high number of dementia cases developing over time. Reducing such exposures could help lower the incidence of dementia. 1 in 5 residents of Allegheny County is 65 and older, and almost 12% of this county's older residents and their families are already coping with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. That's nearly 1 in 8 older residents, higher than the national average of 1 in 9. As a science writer and as a resident of Allegheny County, among the worst places in the country for fine particulate pollution, the studies I've read leave me alarmed and extremely concerned for my neighbors and myself. Dementia is a loss of thinking, remembering, and reasoning skills, but it's not a normal part of aging. Fine particulates can affect the lungs, circulate in the blood, move into the brain and other organs such as the heart, where they can cause direct damage. Studies that track older Americans over time and link to real-time pollution measurements based on where they live find that older adults who live in places with higher levels of particulate air pollution are more likely to develop dementia than their peers who live in places with cleaner air. One estimate by NIH-supported researchers suggests that as many as 188,000 cases of dementia per year nationally might be due to fine particulate pollution. Another set of noted NIH-supported researchers argues that improving air quality in large metro areas like Pittsburgh, where much of the aging U.S. population resides, may be a very important mechanism for reducing age-related cognitive decline and dementia. I urge you to fully fund air quality programs. Thank you.
Patrick Campbell.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Campbell, the Executive Director of the Group Against Smog and Pollution. I'm here again regarding Council's failure to even discuss the Allegheny County Health Department's plan to fully fund its air quality program through increasing certain fees imposed on operators. It should have been a simple, dare I say, boring vote. Because this is not a matter of financial theory, it's simple. Right now, air quality staff members, people like inspectors, engineers, and attorneys, complete tasks like ambient air quality models, risk assessments, and requests for determinations from permitted Title V facilities. The Clean Air Act requires that ACHD have adequate funding and personnel to sufficiently administer those services and more by charging fees sufficient to cover the cost of administering the program. The new fee schedule is not punitive. It's not providing a surplus to the air program. It's administrative. The Air Pollution Advisory Committee knew it, so did the Board of Health, so did environmental nonprofits, local leaders, and most importantly, the constituents you purportedly represent. That's why the proposal swiftly made its way through the proper process until it reached this council. The matter now sits in committee where we assume it will die a slow death. Meanwhile, your inaction has recently robbed frontline communities of nearly $500,000 from the Clean Air Fund that could have funded community projects. Projects that help improve the health and well-being of your constituents will instead be used to help cover administrative costs. You know, the air models, risk assessments, and requests for determinations mentioned earlier. Make no mistake, your inaction has already had direct consequences. And that's why I'm here again to demand that you stop hiding behind procedure and straw votes and put the proposal on the next agenda for discussion. We are here to ensure that you understand the gravity of your dereliction. The time for excuses for this permit fee increase is over. The time for action is now.
Next up is Natalie Davidson.
Say again?
Good evening. My name is Natalie Davidson. I am the Allegheny County Civic Engagement Coordinator of Penn Future. Penn Future is an environmental advocacy nonprofit fighting for clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment here in Pennsylvania. A main focus of Penn Future's work is to improve the air quality in Allegheny County and protect local communities from the impact of toxic air pollutants. I am a resident of Allegheny County residing in District 12. Speaking directly to my hello. I am here today on behalf of Penn Future and our members residing in Allegheny County, many of whom have sent letters to all their council members asking them to vote to increase the air permit fees. Increasing these fees is required under the Clean Air Act and the PA's Air Pollution Control Act and fulfills the county's trustee obligation under our Environmental Rights Amendment, Article 1, Section 27 of our Constitution. Increasing these fees will fully fund and staff the Health Department's air quality program, ensuring that permits are issued, monitored, and enforced, and ensure that our communities are protected. Currently, the air quality program lacks sufficient funding for staff and operations of the program, causing a backlog which threatens our air quality. Penn Future joins with the hundreds of residents who have concerns about the deficit in the Allegheny County Health Department's budget and who are asking you to vote now to increase these fees and give our community the protection we deserve. Residents of Allegheny County have long suffered the health and the environmental impacts of poor air quality, including high rates of respiratory and cardiac conditions, cancer, and premature mortality. As elected officials representing us, it is your responsibility to do all you can to ensure the Allegheny County Health Department's air quality program is fully funded and staffed so residents of Allegheny County can breathe clean air. Thank you to the members of council who have supported this proposal and have worked to table it until we have the full support we need to pass. However, we need all of council to act now to protect our health and to protect our families. Today, I ask those who have not supported the proposed increase to remind themselves of the duty of their duties to act in the best interests of their constituents that elected them to this body. Thank you for your consideration of Penn Future's comments and the comments of all the community members who have spoken here tonight and who have submitted their written comments in favor of the air permit increase fee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is David Swanson.
He's here.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing public comment. My name is Dave Swanson. I'm a resident of Swissvale, and it is my honor always and mostly my pleasure to be the president of the Pennsylvania Interfaith Impact Network. There's a lot of Penn folks here tonight. All right. So I live in Swissvale, and I'm pastor of Pittsburgh Mennonite Church there. And tonight, speaking as president of PIN, PIN is a grassroots power building organization, and basically we work with your constituents to help them amplify their voices and engage with folks like you on issues that matter to them. And so, but today I also want to speak to you as a dad and as a local community member and a local pastor. Right here, I have debris that I collected yesterday from my window well. I live in Swissvale, about exactly 2 miles from the edge of the Edgar Thompson plant. We live 2 miles downriver. We live 2 miles downwind from the plant. And if you take a look at this is all fine particulate pollution that collects in our window wells each day and each month. And if that's not gross enough, the problem is that it's not only in our window wells, of course, it's in our lungs. And 9 years ago, my youngest child, Benny, was born, and she decided as a pastor's kid it was a good time to be born between Christmas and New Year's. And that was also the time when the Greenfield Bridge was out on the Parkway, so we had to find our way to Mercy Hospital, pick our way through the park over there. But the bottom line is my child, Benny, has spent her entire 9 years living in Swissvale and breathing the air there. And this past September, Benny developed a cough and multiple respiratory symptoms and has had the same cough and respiratory issues for the last 7 months. We have done testing. It's not allergies. It's not asthma. It's just a constant inflammation of her respiratory system. And so what I'm asking for you all to do as you consider whether or not to bring this vote into council is to consider the fate of the kids, okay? These kids are if they don't have asthma, they're having multiple issues. You've heard from other folks who are leaving because because of their respiratory distress. We have to be able to care for our children. That is the mark of a healthy society and one that cares. So I ask for you all to be courageous enough to vote to increase these permitting fees so that my child and your children don't have to cough their way through another year. Thank you.
Jacob Bull.
Jacob Bull.
Good evening. I'm Jacob Poole, previous name Zoltan Jolt Jakob, and I have multiple names because, well, I was in American-controlled children's camps in Eastern Europe between the Soviet Union collapse war zone and the Yugoslavian bombings war zone, where American organizations collected thousands of children along with me, where we were held there and our records and names were changed, and I was brought to America a number of years later, and I'm still here. And I want to propose to the council for a census to be conducted in Allegheny County, because every riverfront and every city street is lined with homeless people. And my name is Jacob Poole, and I'm in isolation, captivity, forced labor conditions, and so are those people. And everybody raised the record that a lot of those people were probably brought here from Eastern Europe from children's camps, like I was. And they're alone, isolated, with no family, names changed, records changed, and they're homeless people now because they have no human connection.
You can skip me.
And I want the council to conduct a census to measure how many of those people are actually, whose names are Zoltan, and Vladislav, and Yuri, who were abducted as children to here from Eastern Europe 25 years ago or 30 years ago, along the side from the sidelines of the Soviet Union collapse and Yugoslav wars, because American organizations, they get money to bring children like me here because it's child slave trading. They profit off of it. I have no human connection, and every job I've had since I was brought to America 27 years ago was people who bring me here, walking me up to businesses and say, you're going to be working here for the next 5 years. They put me to work at the University of Pittsburgh for 10 years, using my name Zoltan Jakob as a diversity stamp so that the university had people from Eastern Europe to represent. After that, I was put at Giant Eagle for years, from customer-facing with foreign names and foreign accents. So at PNC Bank. And this is slave trading. So I want the council to conduct a survey in Pittsburgh to measure how many of those homeless people like me were brought here from Eastern Europe alone as children, abducted by American corporations, getting money for it, waiting at the sidelines of conflicts, gobbling children up. I was in children's camps for 10 years to make sure my name and identity was changed, records were altered, and every document surrounding me right here in Allegheny County is falsified and incorrect. I'm alone, living in an apartment by myself, constantly targeted for forced labor, being taken to labor sites of any number, and every record around me is completely falsified so that they can carry those things out. And I bet you half of those homeless people in Pittsburgh, they have the exact same story. They just don't know it because they were brought to America from war zones when they were 5, 6, 7-year-old children and sold for money because it's child slave trading. Pittsburgh is number 9 for child trafficking. I have a website called ijkab.news where I'm trying to track and document these things. Thank you.
Mackenzie McFarland.
Not here, and someone didn't hear their name. Kate Walker.
Thank you.
I am actually hard of hearing, so thank you for that. My name is Kate Walker, and I serve as the minister of the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh in Shadyside, which sits very comfortably in District 11. Thank you. But I sit very comfortably in District 11, over in Bloomfield in District 10. So thank you very much for hearing me today. My show and tell, that is my breathing apparatus that I take twice a day. This is the one that I take when I can't breathe at any moment of the day. These are triggered by the particulates in the air. I'm a well-resourced white woman who has health insurance. You all represent many, many people in the Mon Valley in particular who do not have the resources that I have, who go to the urgent care, to emergency care because the children or the vulnerable who have health issues, who are seniors, don't have health insurance, or they're just losing a day of work or losing a day of school. These are the people you represent, and I am calling this into a moral issue to increase the fees on our air polluting industries. I am a longtime environmental activist as well as a religious leader, and I learned decades ago that corporations love to play the game of don't look what we're doing, look over here, and what they're asking you to do is this is going to cost jobs if you increase our fees. We may leave if you increase our fees. They're trying to convince you that there's something over here that you need to be paying attention to and not increase their fees. In the meantime, the children, the hospitals are filling up and people are having Alzheimer's, as we've heard, and their health is being, and people are moving. So I'm begging you, this is a moral issue. I not only represent myself, but I represent over 240 members, many of whom are here this evening. And we are paying attention to how this vote is going. And we are paying attention to how you are caring for the most vulnerable in our communities right now. And it is about us. It is not about large corporations who regularly budget for how they are going to violate the laws. It is part of their operating procedure. Please don't buy into that game. It won't harm them. It harms us. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Wait, Jack's trying to say something.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
Your mic's not on, I don't think.
It doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
It's been a long night. I almost said a word.
The one next to you.
President Katina, would you consider a motion to amend the agenda in order to have a vote on these permit fees? Because if we delay it yet again, then I feel we're doing a disservice to the members of the audience who gave up their evening along with us to have them come back yet again over and over.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
I'll second that.
Solicitor.
A question to
No, it was not posted on the agenda. It's not in a, pardon? It was not, it's not one of the exceptions to allowing something to be added to the agenda, which are very limited, and it would be a violation of the Sunshine Act to vote on tonight without having it been posted on the agenda.
Okay, could I ask a clarification question on that?
Yeah.
Mr. Solicitor, just for my personal edification, then what is the, would pulling any bill out of committee violate the Sunshine Act then, if it wasn't properly posted on the agenda?
Correct.
So that is delineated within our rules, though, correct?
No, the Sunshine Act, Councilman, requires that we post everything on the agenda in the advance of the meeting of everything that council is going to act on. So if it's not on the agenda, then it's a violation of the Sunshine Act for us to consider it.
Right, understood. Don't our rules also say, though, that we're able to pull bills out of committee if there's been a certain period of time that's passed?
We do, but if we're going to do that, Councilman, and want to act on it, we have to have it on the agenda for that night.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not so sure, Mr. Solicitor, that must be on the agenda. If memory serves me correctly, and I don't have the rules of council, and I would appreciate it if we would pull them, that you would review and read the specific provision in council, because I think, if I remember correctly, there are provisions in our rules of council that allow us to bring to the floor an issue that has been sitting in committee for a specific period of time.
You are correct, but if we're going to do that, we have to have it on the agenda.
It doesn't have to be on the agenda. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I believe that we need to take every effort to make sure that these concerns are addressed in a constructive manner.
Okay, I made my position.
Okay, thank you. At this point in time, we're not going to entertain that. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion has been made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.